So if you've done the tutorials and if you've done the brainstorming and the research, you're now ready to start designing your template. So you're going to get a choice of 3 templates. You've got the box template, so you can see the sides are thinner and the front is more square, and obviously the sides and the top and bottom are the same shape. You've got a milk carton type shape, and so I've got an example of what it looks like. So the top, 2 sides of the top are flat and the other sides are folded in, and then you've got the front and sides which are the same shape. That doesn't need to be there. And you've got the tall box template. So they're all the same size, the front and the sides, but it's just a lot taller than the other 2. So you have to choose one of those. And I'll email those to you, and you can just delete the ones that you don't want. So I wanted to show you a few examples of a working juice box. So this is one that's showing what it kind of looks like as you're working. You try things that don't work. So obviously I tried this and it didn't work, or I didn't like it for one of the sides. I've made this blueberry and strawberry here, and in swatches you can see I've made various patterns with them that I've been trying out. So just to remind you about that, so say I've got a shape here. Clearly I've played around with different patterns that I've made. Some are plain, some are shapes, little lightning bolts, some are fruit, some are bigger, some are smaller, some have white outlines. So I've played around with them and they're still in swatches. So here's some swatches. I've been playing around with type as well, making it. So this one here, it's actually curved. You can get your font to curve and not just be plain. So in properties, you've got the type of font down here and the color obviously back over here. But if you want it to bend, like with this Fruju here, it's bent, you go to Window, Appearance, Effects, and you want to warp. So if you choose any of those and you click on Preview, and you can play around with those as well. And if you don't want arc, if you want arc lower or shell lower or whatever, that's how you play around with font. So preferences for the type of font and the color, and then window appearance if you want to do something to that font to make it curved. Now what you'll see is I've got layers going on. So the first layer, I've put a gradient in it, and the second layer over the top is the lightning. And if you work in layers, which most of you will, in fact all of you will, you need to make sure that it's lined up perfectly. Now this one here again is the gradient, and then I've got text, and then another text layer, then the strawberry and the blueberries. So you can see that your layers are going to get pretty intense. So just remember to group things so it's easy to click on them and move them. So that's grouped, so that's easy to move. You can see here I've got 2 lightning bolts and then a gradient underneath it. So lots of layers. This one here has more of a clipping mask situation. Hopefully you watched the clipping mask tutorial. Remember clipping masks, if I take this over here, must have locked it. What about this one here? Okay, so I've got 3 layers. I've got purple, clipping mask, and then my type, which I did by hand. So I just made that type myself with a paintbrush and a rough edged brush. So one like this one, and I just drew it myself. Now this one here, if I You can see that it's full. It's actually, maybe I made a pattern. But with the clipping mask, the same thing. If you haven't watched it, you make a kind of swatch yourself just by copying and pasting, and you can make some of them bigger or you can make them all the same. So something like that. And then if I wanted this, I'll just copy paste this shape, but I wanted it to be cut out. I just make sure it's on top, it's not behind the oranges. Then select everything, and then I right click and go make clipping mask. And see, it makes everything fit in. So that's a different way to a pattern. So all of these are different layers. So if I release that clipping mask, let's do it down here. If I release this clipping mask, so I made a sort of like opening here. So when I put the type, it's sort of clear. So if I release the clipping mask, you can see how I did it. So I put all of my fruits and leaves around. Then I put my purple square over it. Then I select all of it, right click, make clipping mask. And then that goes over like that. And I need a purple layer underneath that as well. So this one's looking at kind of boxy writing to get ideas across. And this one's similar to the first one, except I've changed colors. So have a look at the different layers. So I've got my fruit sort of layers. Then I've got a pattern layer, which is separate to my green layer. And the same thing over here. I've got a strawberry layer, pointy dot layer, and then a green layer. So when you choose your template, you need to click on the, like if you're clicking, it's not working. It's because it's hollow. See, it's hollow. So you've got to click on the outline. If you want to color it in, you know how to do that with your swatches. If you want a gradient, I don't remember if I showed you how to make a gradient, orange, yellow gradient, but if you don't want orange and yellow, go to Window, G for gradient, and change those colors here. So double clicking, and you can change colors. That's pretty gross, but you can, and you can drag down to get rid of excess colors if you only want 2 or 3 or whatever. And if you want to add colors, you see how the plus appears on the arrow? Just click on there and you can add layers. Also, if you don't want it left to right, you can go circular and you can go whatever that one is. And on the third, no, it's freezing. On a third option, you've got the gradient tool over here, which lets you choose even more how short you want the gradient to be, or hard or soft, and what direction you want it to be. So I'm just clicking and dragging in a new place. Don't click and drag over the same. I mean, you can change it and edit it there, but if you want it diagonal, click and drag where you want it to be. If you want several boxes to have the same gradient, click on them and click on Shift. So if you want those 3, or if you want the whole thing to have the same gradient. So see how it's all separate? Well, it's the same gradient, but it's like going from green to blue, green to blue. If you want it to be the whole thing, this should work. Maybe it won't. Yeah, it did. So the whole thing is green to blue. 2 options for you for that. And so if I was going to do a pattern now over this, I'd copy and paste, and I'd do my pattern over that, or my effect. Okay, so start to make your final template. You need to have a mixture of images and text. Don't have a barcode, don't have a nutritional table, just make it images. They have to all be made by you. You can't use anything off the internet.